Alright, I told you I was going to take a break from Dragon Ball, and I'm going to do that now with my top 10 favorite Yu Yu Hakusho fights. Yu Yu Hakusho is easily in my top 10 favorite animes of all time, and they have some pretty badass fights through the entire run of the series. Except for maybe Season 4. I think those fights are bland and very boring. Anyway, let's get things started and let's start listing this shit. Top 10 favorite Yu Yu Hakusho battles of all times. Let's hit it! Number 10 is Yusuke versus Gokai, or Goki, or it's not Goku. Anyway, I kind of like this one. It's an early Season 1 fight, and it's one of the first fights that Yusuke does when he gets back from the spirit realm. Or back from the dead, basically. This one actually shows Yusuke is a smart fighter. He's a street fighter, but he has street smarts, and he's able to use his mind in a much sharper and better way than, say, some of the other characters do. This is in early Season 1, so Yusuke actually isn't in the tournament around this point, and he's basically just showing his street smarts. That's kind of why I like this one. It's nothing special. In fact, Yusuke starts getting his ass kicked pretty early by this big brute, but it's still really enjoyable to watch, and also it's fun to watch Yusuke try to think his way out of the fights. It's pretty interesting, too, how he wins. Basically slamming that tree branch into his mouth and aiming his spirit gun in his insides is pretty fucked up way to go. But still, that's what makes these early Season 1 fights a lot of fun. Yusuke is on full display with his asshole attitude, and it's not a fight to save the world, it's basically just a fight for business, and the fact that this dude ate a kid's soul and it pissed off Yusuke. That's the main reason why he's fighting so hard here. It's pretty sad that Gokai really had no personality and he had no spot being here, but it's just interesting to watch. Though the animation isn't really anything special in this season, not till it gets in the middle of it, it still has some pretty decent moments throughout the run too. I just like seeing smart Yusuke once in a while instead of making him just an airhead with fighting skills like they do later in the series, which I am not a fan of. Let's move on to the next one.
What is that thing?
I'm the one you've been looking for, Rando.
Number 9 is Yusuke versus Rando, which, yeah, Rando is a pretty freaking interesting character in the run of the series. A martial artist that copies the moves and tries to steal the arts of other master martial artists. He is pretty interesting, and I've got to say, the voice done by Eric Vale is fantastic in this. Basically, Rando, in his human form, beats the shit out of Kuwabara, pissing Yusuke off, and Yusuke's entire mission of this entire fight is to find and hunt Rando, which he does. And a lot is going on here. During Genkai's training, she noticed Yusuke is a really good prime student, so she steps in and lets him fight Rando at full strength. She knows very well who Rando is too, but a lot is going on here. Rando starts getting his ass kicked at first, but then he starts kicking Yusuke's ass right back at it, and it's just fucking fantastic. And in fact, Rando even copies the spirit gun, which just blows it away with a spirit gun beam struggle. How can you go wrong with that? Rando also has a really fucking cool design. I'm not gonna lie, his design is what makes him such an interesting character. Even his human form design is cool looking, but his demon form design just looks friggin' badass. I couldn't get enough of that when I first watched it. As a little kid, I was actually kind of scared of Rando. I watched this when I was 10 years old, by the way. Anyhow, the fight choreography is really good in this one, and the animation actually steps up a few notches here. Now, this is a Season 1 fight, and Yusuke again uses his brains and his luck in this fight. Basically, before Yusuke is about to get the curb stomp of all curb stomps of his life, he has something in his ear which messes up Rando's spell, and it deflects on him declaring Yusuke as the winner. It's actually a funny win more so than a win on skill, which is why I love Season 1 Yusuke so much. He relies a lot more on his fist, but he does use his brain and his luck sometimes. And luck is a part of skill as well as anything else. And that's why I love Season 1 Yusuke so much. In the later seasons, he kind of drags and lags on, but in the Season 1 is just prime Yusuke Urameshi anime. It's just great. Let's go on to the next one.
You know it's impossible to control it completely. Once I release it, I have no say.
And of course, no list is complete without a fight from Hiei. Now, this is Hiei's first fight in the Dark Tournament, Hiei vs. Zero. And at first, I always thought Hiei was going to kick this guy's ass. He was going to win. It was going to be a flash over, easy win fight. But that's not what happens here. This dude actually punches Hiei, burning his clothes and setting most of them on fire. And this is a Dark Tournament fight too, anyway. And nearly burning Hiei to ash. Zero is not a normal opponent, and Hiei actually has to really fight back this round. And how he does it is brilliant, by doing one of his greatest moves in his arsenal, the Dragon of the fucking Darkness Flame, which is easily the best freaking move out of Yu Yu Hakusho or almost any other anime. Hell, it puts Goku's Dragon Fist to shame. This motherfucker can destroy everything in its wake, and it just comes from little miniature-sized Hiei in one shot. The dragon design looks so cool, and that's the reason why this one gets to be on the list. The whole genius design for Hiei is just incredible. I love Hiei in a fight, and honestly, when I'm going through this list, if I would have just put Hiei fights on here, that could have been a top 10 list of its own. And I've got to say, this one just really kicks so much ass. The animation and music is right at a perfect setting here, and Zero, who is the group leader at the time, is just kind of bland, but his attacking ability is really cool. I love the fact that he can just set things on fire by pure touch. Hiei is not an opponent to be trifled with, and this dude actually made Hiei use his best move. So you know you're in for a lot of badass fights when it comes to the Dark Tournament. The Dark Tournament has to be my favorite saga out of the Yu Yu Hakusho run, and probably my favorite tournament-based saga of any anime in general. No other series have ever done a better tournament than this one. Anyhow, let's go to the next. Now we're talking Yusuke and Kuwabara versus the Toguro brothers, which is in itself a lot of fun, with Elder Toguro's ability to turn into a weapon and younger Toguro's ability to flex his muscles and pump himself up. This one is quite unique. Basically, in this story of this fight anyhow, Yusuke and Kuwabara are up to rescue Hiei's sister Yukina, who is being held captive because of her tears. And Kuwabara is in love with Yukina, which makes him go over the top in this season, but I really like this season a lot, so don't sue me. Anyhow, their final opponents is the Toguro brothers. There's the younger Toguro brother, who is a buff, muscular man, and his shoulder monkey, Elder Toguro, who is a scrawny, straggly-haired, creepy guy with a creepy voice. And I just really enjoy their chemistry on screen. I love the fact that Yusuke and Kuwabara actually have to team up in this one. And the way they win, well, a letting win anyhow, spoilers, is by Yusuke firing his spirit gun at full display, hitting Kuwabara in the back and causing him to stab Toguro in the stomach. That is fucking badass right there. It's easily one of the best fights out of the series, and it's nice to see a team-up battle on the list. Later on down the road, we get to see more of one-on-one, and the team-up battles that we get in the Dark Tournament, they kind of flat out suck, especially with the Ichigaki team, who I really can't stand. I hated that team to pieces. Sorry I'm getting off track. Anyhow, this one is just great. Yusuke and Kuwabara have fantastic chemistry, and honestly, so do the Toguro brothers. I just love the fact that the big dude is the little brother while the little one is the older one, and how they work off each other is pretty good. It's more like their personalities clash because there's so much opposites, but Ilda Toguro thinks he's the greatest thing in the fucking world. I don't know. It's just a great fight, and honestly, I love when they put strategy into the fight. It just makes the fights all the more better.
Yojiki is a truly gifted species of plant.
Alright, this one, well, I'm gonna have to break it to you guys gently here. Kurama's not gonna be on the list anymore after this one, and why is because he doesn't get that many wins in the series throughout the run of Yu Yu Hakusho. I mean, yes, he does, but none are as spectacular as this one. Kurama versus Karasu is a very interesting and kick-ass match. That's all I've got to say. You're basically versing Karasu, who could basically just use whatever he can in an attack, forcing Kurama to have to go into his Yoko form, and it not working, and getting his ass beat throughout the run. In fact, throughout the middle of the fight, his Yoko form is now went back down to his human form, and he has to rely on his wits to beat Karasu, which is pretty good because strategically Kurama is the smartest character and the best fighter when it comes to strategy. He's not all bronze like the other characters on the show. He is very intelligent, and it takes all he's got to, well, survive. Unfortunately, in this tournament, thanks to plot convenience, Kurama actually loses this fight and Karasu wins, even though Karasu is actually dead here. Now, I know Kurama is a fan favorite, but he's not exactly my favorite character. It's very obvious that there are two fan favorites. There is Kurama and then there's Hiei. Well, I happen to go with the latter. Kurama is good and he's a decent character, but honestly, this is going to be the only fight on the list, and I apologize if you guys were expecting something a little more than this. Again, let's go on to the next one.
What's wrong? Do I confuse you? Do I?
Alright, now we're on to one of the best fights, and probably the very first fight I ever watched in Yu Yu Hakusho. Hiei is out there, his partners have betrayed him, or died in a sense, and he has the sword that could turn people into demons, and now it is Yusuke's turn to get the sword back. And in the process, Keiko has been slashed by the sword, Botan is trying her best to keep the eye shut before it opens, and Hiei is going full-fledged villain here, which is great. I loved the villainy in this and the over-the-top acting done. Chuck Huber just kicked ass in this role right here, and it's probably one of Chuck Huber's best roles done, especially early Hiei. He is over-the-top, hammy, and everything. The fight is really well structured again, showing that Yusuke is no dummy when it comes to fighting somebody. Hiei is probably the biggest threat Yusuke has faced at this point, and the fact that he can't hold his own against him is really showing a difference in skill. The animation has got a good bump up too. It looks fantastic. And I've got to say, it is easily one of the best fights in the entire run of the anime. It made it to top 5 for a reason. You could really see how much effort was put into this. In fact, we get to see Hiei go all out. Well, I guess all out. We get to see his eyes open on his body, and you see his true demon form. Take a good look at it, everyone. You never get to see this form again, because the creator did not like drawing all the eyes on him, and he felt the form was useless. Anyhow, it's fun watching his chemistry with Yusuke, and Yusuke isn't the only one fighting here. Kurama steps in. Kurama nearly dies, too, in the process of that. But still, so much is going on, and there is so much at stake here. Basically, Yusuke's childhood best friend is about to be a demon, Botan is about to die from trying to keep her from becoming a demon, and it's up to Yusuke to get the sword that has the serum in it to stop the demon. It's just an easily amazing fight, and honestly, I think nostalgia plays a big part in it for me in this fight, because, well, like I said, it was probably the first episode of Yu Yu Hakusho I ever got to watch. I fell in love with it right away, and it really shows how awesome the show was going to be. It's an early season 1 fight, but man, is it fucking good! Just so much is at stake here, and Hiei is just a barrel of fun and amazing. Over-the-top hamminess going on, and I just absolutely love it. This is probably one of the most viewed fights I've ever watched in the entire run of the series. Just because we get introduced to Hiei for him to become a good guy later. It's just excellent, and I'm saying it is worthy of the top 5 spot. Number 4, it is now Yusuke versus the younger Toguro, or Toguro. You know, they actually just call them elder and young. I don't know why they didn't give these poor dudes a name, a first name anyway, but oh well. This is the final fight of the Dark Tournament. Everything's at stake, people are dying, the audience is dying. It's all fucking fantastic. Everything choreographed here is incredible, and it gives you an adrenaline rush. The only reason why it's a little below the top 3s is because, well, it's long, and it's a really long fight. But what we get out of the long fight is just fucking kick-ass. We get to see Yusuke take off the shackles, the spirit cuffs, and he becomes even more powerful than he has ever been before, pummeling Toguro. Toguro has to pump himself up to 100%, which ends up destroying a good portion of the audience. Kuwabara fakes being killed by Toguro to unlock Yusuke's rage so he can fire a massive spirit gun and take Toguro out. It is one of the most epic final battles I've ever seen in an anime, and I really wish the series would have ended with this fight. But then again, it made it to top 4. I guess it wouldn't have gotten the other ones if it had ended here. But still, this one is just so freaking great. The animation is beautiful. I love how Toguro just starts out in his regular buffed up self, and Yusuke is beating his ass so much that he has to keep turning the heat up all the way to 100% to when his final 100% form doesn't even look human anymore. It looks like the freaking Hulk on steroids fucked a tree branch or something. It is that scary, and it's very intimidating. I thought it was generic at first, but it's an intimidating look, especially for a character like Toguro. Anyhow, let's go on to number 3.
Show you that my decoy and I are part of the same body. You got me. But when you see the truth of it, it's just a paper cut.
Number 3 is Kuwabara versus the elder Toguro. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is this one, the fight before younger Toguro, on here? Why is it above younger Toguro's fight? Well, this is where we get to see Kuwabara actually become a badass. And you get to see Elder Toguro fight on his own too, who is a very threatening character. Basically, Kuwabara is able to attack him, and he cuts him in half seemingly, for it to only be a portion of his body. Basically, he can morph his body and move his vital organs around through his body like a needle in a haystack, leaving Kuwabara to try to chop him into bits. However, it doesn't work. He's able to pull himself together, and the blood bath through this whole run here is just glorious. But you get to see more of how sadistic the elder Toguro brother actually is. This character has no morals. He is a disgusting, distasteful creature that is even below even demons. Hell, he would shake hands with Satan himself, and Satan would be repulsed by him. He is a grimy, disgusting creature, and I absolutely love him. And the voice work done by Bill Townsley and Chris Sabat here was fantastic. They work off each other so well. I love the fact that one character who fights with honor versus a character who has no moral or honor are against each other. And the way Kuwabara wins this fight is actually really warranted. It was the only way he could win, even though throughout most of the fight he's tortured and easily picked apart like a frog in dissection. It's still a really well done fight, and it adds polish onto both of these characters. Kuwabara is the character that always loses in a series, who always gets his ass kicked. But here, he got to shine and be on top. And we got to see Elder Toguro as more than just a shoulder monkey, which pretty much that's what he is. He's just like Abu from Aladdin that hangs on to his brother all the time. We got to see these two clash, and it was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed this one, and it's got a really special place in my heart throughout this entire fight. Let's go on to the next one. Well, what do you know? I put a fight in from Season 3, or Season 4, I guess around the end of Season 3 and the beginning of 4. I think that's how this one works. Anyhow, Yusuke versus Sansui. Sansui is not the kind of opponent Yusuke has ever faced before. He's worse and more powerful and more threatening than the younger Toguro could ever be. And the fact is, Sansui used to be a spirit detective just like Yusuke, until he's seen how much of a corruption it actually was, and he lost his mind and went through a psychotic breakdown. Now it's up to Yusuke to bring him in, and it's taking his damnness to do it. In fact, this fight actually gets Yusuke killed, and it just doesn't get any better than this. I mean, holy shit. The fight choreography and the animation looks fantastic too. I've got to say, I like Sansui's design, this tall looking, creepy looking character, but I don't much care for his design when he's going into his armor mode. It looks really stupid. But when this fight starts out, it starts out strong, with Yusuke fighting as much as he can, getting his ass kicked, but getting up and fighting back, and standing on his own too. Though, the only thing that really keeps this fight from being number 1 is the ending of it. I was determined to put this at number 1 until I rewatched it, and I seen that Yusuke had to die and become a demon to beat Sansui. Which, to me, it just defeated the entire purpose of Yu Yu Hakusho's plot. It kind of sucked to make him a demon, make him what he's hunting. I really didn't care for that part of the story, and it's the only thing that really hurts this fight in general. But I've got to say, throughout his human fight, it is easily one of the best scenes ever. And it's worthy of having the number 2 spot. Let's go on to the next one.
I call this battle aura. I'd like to see you try and top it.
And so would I. But I doubt I'll have to try.
Okay, this probably surprises no one, but it's Hiei versus Bui. Of course, Hiei is going to get number 1 on my list. He is my favorite Yu Yu Hakusho character easily. Remember what I said about Zero, him unleashing the Dragon of the Darkness Flame, and Zero dying by it? Well, think of him releasing it again, but this time, it doesn't work. It gets sent right back at him. Hiei versus Bui, 2 warriors, one with complete brute strength and amazing spiritual pressure, versus Hiei, a little guy who has been winning most of his fights throughout the entire Dark Tournament. These two clash from beginning to end of this epic fight, a fight that is so good it takes 2 episodes. The first episode is basically Bui taking off his armor and revealing his full power. With his deep and powerful voice, with a voice performance done by Vic Mignogna and Chuck Huber here, by the way, that is just unfreaking believable. Sometimes you couldn't even believe what you were seeing. It was an incredible fight. By the second episode, the entire animation budget changes completely, and it goes from easily the regular animation Yu Yu Hakusho used to fucking Miyazaki-looking animation. When Hiei releases that fucking dragon, the animation budget just jumps up completely. It is unlike anything I've ever seen, and it's just so beautifully done. Bui is no other opponent that Hiei has ever faced. Hiei was actually getting one of the worst beatdowns he was getting here at the beginning until he had to release the dragon. Bui was not a pushover character, and that's what makes him great and fantastic. A character that was so brawny and strong that he was able to throw the dragon back at Hiei, seemingly killing him, but Hiei instead absorbs the dragon into himself and is able to beat Bui that way. Very special plot armor. I think what makes this work really well, not other than the amazing, beautiful animation, but the fight choreography and the voice acting and everything is just on par. It doesn't seem like moments in the series where the characters are just pulling shit out of their ass out of nowhere to get the win. It is a well-deserved win. Bui is an incredibly forced character that you really like, and you kind of root for him to win when you see his backstory throughout the run. It's a very short backstory, but he's basically a slave to Toguro, and he wants to kill Toguro himself. But you have to root for Hiei because, well, Yusuke is trying to stop Toguro himself. So either way it goes, it's just a well-scripted fight, and easily one of the best fights done in Yu Yu Hakusho. No, not one of them, the best. Everything about this fight just radiates perfection. There isn't a dull moment here. Hell, even Ogre has some funny moments through the run of this fight. And I've got to say, it's worthy of being number 1 on my list of top 10 Yu Yu Hakusho fights. And it's gonna stay there. It is worthy to have the throne of the best Yu Yu Hakusho fight done, hands down. And that's it. That is my list of my top 10 favorite Yu Yu Hakusho fights. Did you guys enjoy this one? What'd you think? What are your favorite Yu Yu Hakusho fights? Tell me in the comments. Is there any other top 10 list you want me to do from a fighting series or not? Like I said, comments. Always remember, I'm listening.
You still haven't subscribed to Mr. Tim's YouTube? Well, how sad for the people that haven't. They're missing out. Be sure to like and subscribe for more awesome content. If not, you'll take my Dragon of the Darkness flame right through your face, Tim. Right through Mr. Tim's YouTube face.